Good morning. Another fine day in Montana. Welcome to another episode of the Electric Bison, which is today going to be devoted to Crypto Week, which is where we're at today. The Congress, both the House and the Senate, are playing up the idea that for the next week they're going to talk about legislation, at least three pieces of legislation related to cryptocurrency, which our president has already got himself involved in trying to make money off of it, as do several members of Congress. And there's three different pieces, and I'm interested in watching it closely. I expect at least one of the pieces will pass, perhaps all three, I don't know. But the Electric Bison got its name because we have become so dependent on electricity, just like the Native Americans were dependent upon the bison with their culture. And when the bison disappeared or virtually disappeared, their culture was in a lot of trouble. And if we didn't have electricity, we'd be in a lot of trouble. That would be an understatement. I've had the good fortune or not so good fortune to intensively regulate the electricity side of public utilities for 12 years when I was a public service commissioner, and I took a special interest in it, and I learned a lot. And I can tell you with certainty that the American electricity system is the single most complex machine ever devised by man. And it operates at the speed of light. So if you get a kilowatt hour being generated by a nuclear power plant in Florida, it could actually be here in Montana in the next instant doing something useful for us many thousands of miles away. But it's more complicated than that, believe me. And the systems that have been evolving in place to help us run that complex piece of machinery are really in themselves quite complex, and people are a part of that machinery. And they've learned to work together to compete, but as well as well cooperate. Now, in the middle of this, we've suddenly got this huge effort to create cryptocurrency. It's pretty impressive. I'd say it's the first time I can say for sure that campaign contributions coordinated across a broad front by many entities have been used to virtually assure a congressional outcome before it even starts. And whether it'll be one piece of legislation or three, we'll find out soon enough. So that's another nail in the coffin of America's campaign finance system. It's really dorked up, really dorked up. When you get a president who actually sat in a room with all the leaders of the coal and oil industry and writing down all the things they wanted if they would just give him $1 billion, that's called transactional politics, right? And that's what we got. And I think we got it in spades with this whole crypto thing. So it's not a small thing to be concerned about and to be careful about, because everybody is groupthinking their way to what they think is the right answer. I'd like to start with some good news. I've tried to follow closely how our system has evolved the last couple years into regional systems, power sales systems, and trying to keep the National Electric Reliability Council system for maintaining reliability, and using the work of the Electric Power Research Institute to give new ideas on how to work around real problems. I've tried to follow all that, and you'll notice that in earlier episodes of this podcast, I talked about one idea that I have for myself. You don't have to adopt it, but I really believe we're moving into a time where we need to have a little bit of electricity for our own use set aside. So the solar electric power panels that we've had at our home for 18 years, we've got them set up now so that we have a couple of kilowatt hours extra generated every day from our own sources, in case all the other sources that provide electricity to our home don't pan out. I think that's a real possibility. As hard as the electricity engineers work for our different utilities, it's just such a big, multifaceted set of issues that no one group of people can be sure they won't get blindsided. But the good news is that I just recently found that there's been a new map put out by this administration, the Trump administration. It's called the Energy Disruptions Map. It's put out by the Energy Information Agency. And if you go to that map and open it up, you can go to gas or oil or electricity and see what the latest is going on around the country. They're all related. If you're having, we had some bad outages here years ago when the natural gas system couldn't keep the pumps going that kept the gas going to the electricity generation stations, and so that caused electricity to go out with the Siberian Express we had here. So they're all interrelated for sure, and they're certainly related with weather. Temperature, really cold temperatures, really hot temperatures, air conditioning requirements, wildfire, burning down lines. All those things are all connected. So when I saw that energy disruption map, which I happened to cross by accident, I was pretty excited. That's a pretty nice piece of work from the Trump administration. Now, one of the things I noticed as it was being introduced is the disruption map, or the Energy Information Agency map. It's blaming our problems on the previous administration's inclination to provide electricity from green sources. Well, folks, I'd be one of those guys, right? I really think that we can do that. We can provide the electricity if we're coordinating properly from green sources, and in the process reduce our exposure of our people, of our country and our planet to the ravages of climate change. Well, that's not happening right now. That's it's amazing when you get to be my age. It's amazing to be so amazed at how the big lie actually works. People are actually saying there is no problem, but any problems we have are due to the fact that those people used to say there was a problem with climate change and they were going green. Now everything's all screwed up, right? That's what the big lie is. I don't agree with it. You shouldn't agree with it either. It's at some point we got to get back to deal with how to provide our electricity, or more of it, from non-fossil sources. But remember, the fossil sources are the ones that President Trump stood in the room with and wrote down all that they wanted in return for $1 billion in campaign contributions. What a great country. Makes me just tickled as can be. So here we are in this situation, but you got a good map, and I'd recommend you look at it, put it up on your cell phone so you can check it from time to time. And every Wednesday at least, when the new numbers come in on where the natural gas storage is and what the weather is and so forth, it'd be very helpful. One of the things that introduced that new map was an announcement from the Energy Information Agency saying this is because they're trying to make up time for all that green stuff that the previous administration had been engaged in. Don't waste any time on that. A lot of the resources that are coming online require less lead time. They're cheaper, and I'm sure we'll get plenty of fossil-fired resources too. But no sense crying over spilled milk. We got this president. We got this set of truths. Yeah, what a deal. But anyhow, so that's the good news, is we got a good map to work with, I think. And check some of those footnotes about the different energy forms, even clear down to what's happening in the Straits of Hormuz. It's pretty cool, really. I liked it a lot. Well, now, during this crypto week, they'll be talking about these 3 big pieces of legislation, but nowhere will they be talking about how much electricity it takes to energize the hundreds of server farms that are out solving these puzzles to get to the value of a cryptocurrency or crypto dollar. And that's called crypto mining now. But where I come from, mining's something entirely different. Actually mine. Here you just use up electricity like there's no tomorrow. And that electricity is going to run those server farms is not available for a small state like Utah or West Virginia. Those server farms are already using the same electricity amount as we would see in a small state. 6 million houses. And that's going up in thin air just so somebody's got a good idea on how to make some money by creating kind of a new currency. And the best part of it is they've got the third bill. They don't want the feds checking into this because people are entitled to their privacy. So if one of these guys is going to screw another one of them, that's part of the deal. And yeah, it's amazing. It's totally amazing. But here's the deal. When that was going on during the housing crisis back at the turn of the century, and everything went south, and everybody started losing money off of their good idea, guess who got called in to deal with it? The federal government had to bail their asses out. It happens every time. That's the problem with frat boys. They don't have a sense of reality yet, and they won't. It's just the way it is. So I'm going to be watching this all very, very close. The other thing I'll be doing this week is our regional power sales groupings that have been evolving as fast as possible for the electricity world. Electricity world, when you're watching change in the electricity world, it's like watching the grass grow. Seriously, it's slow. But lately it's been moving pretty fast. And the electricity power sales regional group that we're in here in Montana, at least the part of us that's the Western Area Power Administration, you know, the federal dams, that's all in the Southwest Power Planning Pool. And the private entity, the Northwest Energy, is right now deciding whether to become part of that as well. And I think probably will when Bonneville Power Administration, which is farther west from us toward the coast, become part of it. That's a slow process because it involves so many players and they have to check everything. And everything's different for each one of them. But anyhow, I'll be watching what the Southwest Power Planning Pool is doing this week, because the first thing they're doing is they're having some meetings to talk about how they're going to restrict demand if there's a new large load that wants to come on, right? So the answer is, if you don't have enough power coming on to satisfy the intelligence requirements or the crypto requirements or just normal requirements, then the answer is to shut other people down, which takes us to these solar panels over my head. If we get told to start shedding load, better do it, right? It's going to be decided on a higher level by bigger players than us. But at least leave some source of electricity to light up your cell phone. I remember I was down in the Amazon jungle for a couple of weeks. It took some high school kids down there. And I was on this group of huts that were up on stilts in the water, in the fruit forest there in Peru. And out in the middle of the huts, there was a set of solar panels like the ones that I have here. And I was curious, when you're out there in the middle of nowhere, what really is the most important thing after you shed all the other unimportant things? Well, the most important thing was you needed to have electricity to charge your camera, right? To charge your cell phone, right? And to turn a couple light bulbs on at night in the laboratory so you can take apart scorpions and things like that. Now, who would have thought? Doesn't take a lot of electricity for the real essentials. And if you don't have your cell phone, you're SOL, right? So make sure you have a way to get some electricity. If it means going down to the library and plugging in down there. A lot of my homeless associates, they do that. They'll go to the churches and they'll plug in. And the churches gladly let their outside outlets be available. But anyhow, that's what I'm thinking about going into Crypto Week. I'm thinking about the lack of thought that's going in at the highest levels. Well, I guess this is America, isn't it great? Okay, talk to you later.